to Convenience Store News' Small Operator Academy, an education program designed to help the industry's independents and small chains overcome their biggest challenges and stay competitive. We're pleased to have here with us today John Matthews to talk about operational excellence. John is the founder and president of Gray Cat Enterprises, a management consulting company based in Raleigh, North Carolina. Gray Cat specializes in strategic project management and consulting for multi-unit operations, as well as interim executive management and strategic planning. John has more than 30 years of senior level executive experience in the retail industry with dynamic multi-unit companies such as White Hen Pantry, Little Caesars Pizza, and the Jimmy John's sandwich chain. John, thanks so much for being here today.
My pleasure.
I'm going to hand it over to you now.
My pleasure. Okay, so let me share my screen so everyone can see. And we'll get rolling.
Great.
So operational excellence is kind of what my life is. I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm as operationally excellent in professional work as I am in my personal life. And so I always kind of view, how do you make things better in both work and in personal life. So let me just kind of get into it. A little bit of background. Linda touched on it. I'm a management consultant with Gray Cat Enterprises. I founded the company in 2004. So this is something I've done for a couple of decades plus. Prior to that, I was the president of Jimmy John's. I spent time as the national marketing director at Little Caesars. And then more specific to this audience, I spent 7 full years in the convenience store industry with Clark Retail Enterprises. We owned both Clark and White Hen Pantry, and I headed up 5 different divisions for that 1,400 store chain. So when you think about operational excellence, there's kind of one school of thought is, well, yeah, I'm just improving my, my overall operations. I'm reducing waste. I'm cutting costs. I'm improving my expenses. I'm trying to optimize my staff. And, that's one part of it. And it's about improving process. But what operational excellence is to me is it kind of takes it a step further. Why are you doing all those things? You're doing it because you want the customer to fully optimize the entire experience of your location. You want them to come in and go, wow, this is something that's just spectacular. Because quite candidly, we're in an industry that is 150,000 convenience stores out there all selling the same Snickers bar. So you need to, distinguish yourself as the place of choice amongst all of the local gasoline stations that are around your area. So you want to think about, how do I make every activity that I'm doing in my store, how do I make that optimal for the customer that is walking in the location? So let me walk you through some operational excellence principles. I got about a half dozen here that I'll walk you through just to give you a feel for what I'm talking about. The first one is empowerment. And what I like about this is that rather than you just be the general manager or the owner of your location, you try to empower all of your employees to kind of have the same feeling about taking care of the customer that you would. So you're applying that empowerment to employees. You're applying it to the customers. You want the customers to feel like this is their place. This is a place that they come to, not because you have a better Snickers bar than the Speedway down the street, but rather that they are being treated well by your employees, that things are great, that you feel like you're a part of a family, that you can get in and out very quickly. The store is always clean and everything like that. So it's about empowering your customers, empowering your employees, getting your suppliers, your vendors to actually feel the same way about your location. Involving all of your employees in continuous productivity improvements and trying to get them all thinking about how you do it better. Now, I'll tell you, when my first retail store operation that I worked in was at a Little Caesars. I was a manager trainee, and they gave me the Northbrook, Illinois location. And quite candidly, it was a disaster there. The employees had no motivation to help out driving sales and watching expenses. The floors were filthy. Everything was in disarray. And I went in there, and in 6 months, I got rid of 14 employees and brought in 14 new employees. I kept two. I cleaned up the store. We produced high quality pizza. The employees didn't even know what to do. So back in the day, I'm going to show my age here. I wrote down on 3x5 cards exactly the steps that they needed to do if they were taking the pizzas out of the oven, if they were making the pizzas and everything like that. Lo and behold, without spending any more marketing dollars, without investing any capital into the store, in 6 months, we raised the sales 53% because customers just appreciated the fact that we actually gave a damn in the store, that it was clean. They got their pizzas on time, high quality. I still remember I was the first manager at that location that ever received a bonus. It was a whopping $100, but I was so proud of the fact that I actually got a bonus because they actually appreciated the efforts we had. So it was all because I empowered the employees, we empowered the customers, we got our suppliers all lined up, and we cleaned up the store, and things just kind of took care of itself. The second principle is perfection. Now, you can never hit perfection. It's a target, but it shouldn't stop you from trying to get there and trying to come up with an environment that operationally you're trying to improve every process that you could possibly do in the store that gets you closer to perfection. So if someone is bringing in the products into the store, are they coming in at the right time? Is someone checking those products in? Is someone rotating the stock in the back to make sure that whatever came in first is going out the door? And you've got all of those principles in place. So every part of your operation, from customer service to inventory management to merchandising to managing out of stocks to cleanliness, all is in the pursuit of being absolutely perfect. There's nothing out of line. Now, are you going to get there? Probably not. But man, I'll tell you, if you get to 80% of it, that's a lot better than 40%. So you want to just kind of constantly get your team headed in that direction. Number three is process. And this applies to everything in your store. This applies to everything that I do as a management consultant when I work with other industries. Is how do you figure out all the broken pipes in advance, and how do you address those? I call that war gaming. It's kind of like if we have a supplier bringing in products and he leaves us with 50 boxes of candy bars, what is the most optimal way that we can bring that in, get it on the shelf, get it priced, get it into the POS system with a minimal amount of work? How do we do that? Where are the points of that process that there's a broken pipe that we should know about in advance? Because they do this each and every day or each and every week. We're getting the same delivery in. So how do we streamline it to the point where it makes just total sense for us to be able to bring something in, and it's very simple for us to go from off their truck to in the hands of a customer, and every step in between. So I like to think that you rarely do things in a total vacuum. I may do part of that process, and then I'm going to turn it over to another guy who's going to do another part of the process, and then so on. I have a philosophy in my business that how do I help the next in line? How do I give the next person that's going to touch this process, make it so easy for that person to execute? And then when they execute, they're making it so easy for the next guy. If you apply that principle to every aspect of your retail store, you're going to find that you're going to reduce a lot of anxiety with your employees because they know precisely what they're supposed to do. Everybody knows that they have to do their job well because the other employees are counting on them. And it's a way for you to make sure that none of those pipes are broken and that everything comes in and it's flawless execution. The fourth premise is quality, ensuring that everything is high quality. So you're rotating the stock. You're making sure that the machines that you have in your store, the coffee makers, the fountain machines, they're all in working order. You don't want someone to come into your location and it's a crapshoot whether you're going to have the product or not. Or they come into the location and the coffee machines are 15 deep because you only have two, and you should probably have five. That type of thing to accommodate the quality experience that you're hoping the customer has. So trying to identify the problems, trying to identify those broken pipes in advance ensures that you're giving a quality experience in your retail location. The fourth, and this is probably more in tune with my brain, is how do I make everything systematic? How do I systematize everything that makes it without a thought process? So it is basically, if I say, here are the five things that we need to do in order to open the store, it shouldn't just be in my head. It should actually be written down, and you should go through it line by line to ensure that you're actually doing this. So I still think if you leave so much up to interpretation, if you allow too much flexibility, like, oh, I could put the Snickers bars anywhere on it. No, that's the reason why we have a planogram. We have a planogram because you take the number one candy bar and you put it in the premium position. You can't have people searching for the number one candy bar on your shelf. So that's why we have a planogram, and that's why you need to follow the planogram. Very systemized in how you do that. And then the last one is it's all about creating value for the customer. If the customer comes into your location and it's clean and they can get in and out very quickly, they can find what they want, they're willing to pay probably because of the experience. It's all about creating the value. Now, some customers are going to shop on price, some are going to shop on convenience, some are going to shop on how they're treated, the customer service, some are going to shop on the entire experience. Your goal is to try to create so much value for these customers that they almost become ambassadors for your store. They're going out of their way. They're passing two other gas stations to come to yours because they know that they are going to get the value out of your location versus the other ones. Because every time they go to the other one, you know what? It's just a pain in the rear, and they question themselves, why am I going to this other location? I should be going to Bob's down the street because Bob has the best customer experience and the greatest value. So those are really the six premises that you want to kind of keep in the back of your head. In my case, it's like front and center with me because that's the way my brain works. But that's, hopefully you're going to take some of this and start to apply it. So how do you put some of these principles into practice? Let's kind of walk through that. This is the biggest one. The management sets the tone. If I give 80%, that my employees are going to give 80% of 80%. And then the frontliners are going to give 80% of 80% of 80%. And all of a sudden, no one is given anything at that point. I have to commit to these principles 100%. I need to make sure that my team is fully aligned with what I want to accomplish. There's no stone unturned. I'm saying if I want you to go clean something, I'm going to give you a specific list that needs to be cleaned. I'm going to make it very easy for you to follow the process. I'm going to make it actually harder for you to kind of go outside the process and leave it kind of vague. And you're going to spend more time actually doing that. So having like operational readiness, instead of me just saying, hey guys, we got to get the store all ready for the customers that are coming in. Now I'm going to say is the list that we have to accomplish. Now, when I was at Jimmy John's, we had an opening list that I think was like 17 tasks that you had to do before we opened the store at 10:30. And then we had a closing list that I think was in the 20s that you had to do before you closed the store at 2 a.m. So it was very methodical. And if someone were to walk into the store and there were light bulbs out, boy, I'll tell you, we got our hands slapped at Jimmy John's. And I not sure we have the same rigor in the convenience store industry that we should compared to like the quick service restaurant industry. So if you see a light bulb that's out, it's got to be on your list here. And you go around and go, well, heck, the windowsills are dirty. We got to clean those. The signs are all crooked. We got to fix those. The light bulbs are out in this area. We gotta solve this. There's cleanliness things. So the appearance, the displays, the cleanliness, how things are organized, the whole operational component, hold your team accountable to the standards that you set. And by writing them down, the team now has a very clear understanding of what those standards are. Paying attention to the details. So a customer comes walking in and you see the same customer over and over and over. Do you even know their name? I mean, should you know their name? Wouldn't it be great if you walked in and say, "Hey, Sally, how you doing? It's great that you're here. Oh, you know what? You were looking for those muffins last week. They're over here. We moved them over because I know that's what you normally buy." And, they walk over there and the display is very neat and everything like that. And it's very clean. And Sally feels like, wow, they actually know not only my name, they know what I like to buy, and they're guiding me because they just moved the muffins from here to there. So I'm not walking around like a chicken with my head cut off trying to find my muffin in this store. So you're churning that patron into a potential ambassador because every time they walk in, they feel like they're part of it. It's kind of like walking into the Cheers bar and they all yell Norm. It's kind of like that. You want to make as many customers feel like they're special in your location. I know, again, going back to my Jimmy John's days, this was part of our training. We had to know the customers, we had to engage the customers, and part of it was operations. We wanted to engage the customer the moment they walked in the door because at Jimmy John's, we were built on speed. And the moment that we could engage that customer at the door, we could actually start to talk to that customer as they approach the counter to get their order faster. So we could get them in the queue and out of the queue. So not only was it a cultural thing to get to know our customers, but it was also an operational thing to get them to order faster. Preparing for operational success, making sure that you've got a schematic of your location and you have dictated where people should be to work throughout their shift. You got someone who's managing the register, you got someone who's managing, the back stock, you got someone over here that's managing maybe your fast food and your coffee area. Everyone should know their roles for their shift. So you got a store layout to make sure that the store is set up the way you want it to be set up. You've got your POP is displayed in the right place. It's very important to make sure that the way your store isn't by happen chance. It's the way you want your store to be designed. So don't just assume that, your whatever's out on the floor is in its correct position. Actually sit down and go, is it in its correct position? And if it isn't, we need to move it. And then you actually put out a schematic that actually shows where everything should be. Training your team is very important, not only for their specific roles, but the more people you can cross train in your location, the better you are, not only for the employees, because they feel like they have greater value to the company, but it's easier for you to schedule. If you have 15 different jobs and you have 15 different people that only know one job, and that person goes on vacation, you don't have anyone to backfill that person. So it's incredibly important to cross train all of the people at your location. It gives you a ton of flexibility, gives them a ton of variety. It's probably going to keep them around a little bit longer because they feel like, heck, I don't feel like being a cashier today. I'd rather go, restock the coolers in the back because we just got a big shipment in and I don't mind doing that. Or this time I'm going to be the cleaner of the store. So make sure that the customers, or excuse me, the employees get enough cross training. It's going to help you from a scheduling standpoint. It's going to give them a sense of that I am a bigger employee of this store than just simply a cashier. And you're going to be able to then turn that into greater customer. It's kind of like when you walk into a Home Depot and you're in the plumbing department and a guy's walking that works at Home Depot through the plumbing department. You go, hey, sir, can I ask you a question? Oh, no. You're going to have to call Bob. Bob's the plumbing guy. I work over here in flowers. Well, that doesn't help me. And I don't even know where Bob is. So now you haven't helped me at all. But if he said, hey, I know everything about plumbing, I could help you. That's what you want. You want the customer to feel like they could turn to anyone that's wearing that orange apron at Home Depot and get an answer, as opposed to, hey, you got to go find Bob. Okay, well, I probably could have gone and found Bob. Precise direction. I touched on this earlier with that operational readiness checklist, but I take all of the tasks that you have and actually break them down in step-by-step tasks. So if I say, hey, Sally, go clean the bathroom. Sally may walk into the bathroom and kind of go, okay, and she wipes the mirror and she, wipes down the sink and maybe she takes out the garbage and then she leaves. And then if I ask Billy to go in the next day and clean the bathroom, he may do three different things. So rather than leave that to chance, I would say, you know what? Here are the six things that you have to do to clean the bathroom. You have to clean the toilet inside and out and behind. You have to clean the sink. You have to clean the mirror. You have to check for paper towel dispenser to see if it's full. You have to sweep and mop. You have to make sure there's toilet paper. You have to record that you did all these things, so you're not faking it. That type of thing. Very precise. It isn't left up to the person to interpret it. So at the end of the week, if you clean the bathroom every day, you got seven different versions of the clean bathroom. You want to make sure that you have all your daily tasks broken down. This is a chart that I use for a lot of the restaurants and convenience stores. And Linda, we could probably make it available to the group if you wanted to have it as a downloadable PDF or something like that. But it's one of those things that you just want to make sure that there's nothing to chance here. Make it very easy for someone to understand what the task is at hand. Part of this is that all of a sudden, when employees have clear expectations, they become a little bit more energized, they become a little bit more focused, they become a little bit more competitive with one another, which is great. I saw that at the Little Caesars when I wrote down all their responsibilities for their stations on the 3x5 card, and I had like 5 to 7 responsibilities. And basically, when they came in for their 4-hour shift, I'd say, you got 4 hours to get these things done. Okay, some things you can't do until the end of your shift, but you got 4 hours to get these things done. Very clear, very precise. They knew what it meant to be a success. And when you've got 8 other employees that have 8 other sets of responsibility, all of a sudden you got a team that's got 40 or 50 areas of responsibility that they all have to get done in a 4-hour time period. So they start to get almost competitive, like, hey, look I'm almost done with all my stuff. I'm going to be able to leave right at 8 o'clock, and so they have fun with it. They get energized with it. They pick each other up. They try to help each other out, and they're very focused. And the more that you get your team kind of collectively focused at the goodwill of the store, you're going to see the customer service take off. You're going to see more customers kind of go, man, this is a well-oiled machine. I'm going to stop here because, man, they got this down. They got this down. I don't know if you've ever been to a Buc-ee's, but Buc-ee's is a huge convenience store that can be upwards of 30,000 square feet. And I'll tell you, they've got it down. They've got, someone who's responsible to clean the 2,700 square foot bathrooms that they have in these locations. I mean, that's their sole job, is to be able to do that. They know that they have to keep that very precise. Systemized organization, again, critical with inventory management. These pictures right here, believe it or not, I was in Washington State, and I walked into an Indian tribe convenience store, and it was the Lummi tribe. It was just amazing at how precise they were with their inventory management. They had everything stacked. They had all their inventory barcoded. They had it rotated. It was front facing. It was neat. It was just so simple. And it was so clean that, man, you could go in there and get an inventory count in a nanosecond. And I just totally appreciated having run a Little Caesars before, where we had to do inventory on 6 things every night and then weekly inventory on every item in the store. I really appreciated the fact that these guys had this so well set up for the ease of counting inventory. Matter of fact, the Little Caesars, we would get our forks in boxes of 500, and we had to literally every week had to count down everything down to the actual fork. And then I go, wow, if we open up this box and we use a dozen forks, how do I know if it was a dozen or 2 dozen forks? This is going to be a pain in the rear to count 490 plus forks each and every week. So the first thing that I would do is I'd get that box, I'd open it up, I'd have a stack of rubber bands there, I'd count 25, I'd put a rubber band around those forks, put it off to the side, keep on doing it. So at the end of the week, I could look in the box and I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's 150 plus 7 extra forks. I got 157 forks. There you go. There's my number. I didn't have to count 157 forks. I counted 6 bundles of 25 plus 7. And that's how I did it. And so when I was running my Northbrook location, we closed our store at 11 o'clock. After the weekly inventory, I was pretty much done and out the door at 11:15 because I had every item set up in that same fashion. Every cup, every lid, every napkin, every fork, all the pizza stuff and everything like that. All my brethren that had stores around me were there to 2 o'clock in the morning. And I go, you know what? We're all on salary, so we're not getting paid any extra. So I'd rather be home in my bed at 11:15 than standing at a Little Caesars counting forks. And so that was my whole approach to making sure that everything was organized, everything was systematized, from cleaning supplies to the office desk to the signage to the bathrooms to the forks. Everything was done in that fashion. It enabled me to kind of go, I'm super productive and I still have a life outside of working at the store. Thinking about improving operational throughput, you want to make sure that every opportunity that you have is not wasted. So if a huge sales opportunity presents itself, you're not running around cleaning the store or trying to organize the merchandise. No, you've got everything so ready to go that you can withstand the onslaught of sales. So I always call it the bus pulls up in front of your store and 60 people come out. Could you accommodate 60 people coming in off a bus to come in and buy Twinkies and cigarettes and glass or bottles of 20 ounces and everything like that? Or is your store so disorganized that you're just going to piss off a potential bonanza of sales all at once? So I always have in the back of my mind, what would happen if a bus showed up? Could I be ready? And I think about it when I was at Jimmy John's, when Little Caesars, at Clark, at White End. What happens if that bus shows up? Am I ready? That was kind of like my calling thing. So you want to make sure that your operation is just absolutely humming along so that when that bus shows up, you're like, bring it on. Not, oh my God, we're in trouble now because we didn't make enough sandwiches or we don't have enough coffee or whatever. So it's basically all about removing a lot of the barriers, removing a lot of the governors of that. So if you don't prep your food in advance of that, all of a sudden people come in and they're looking for sandwiches at 11:30, and now you're scrambling trying to prep. So maybe part of it is, you know what, this has happened to us. It happens to us once a week. Maybe we got to prep our food in advance. We got to get our sandwiches done, and we got to do it at a time that isn't at 11 o'clock for the lunch rush. Maybe we do it at 9 o'clock after the breakfast items get done, and now we use that time period. So you're kind of figuring out how do I time shift some of these things that I know I'm going to sell 40 sandwiches. Why would I wait till 11 o'clock to make those 40 sandwiches when I could make them at 7:30 or at 9:30 or something along those lines? Also, watch your customers. If all of a sudden you get 15 people in line at your coffee makers, maybe you need another coffee station or you need more coffee makers. You got to make the equipment investments to accommodate the flow of your customers. We talked about the cross training of employees, but rethink all of your operational procedures. How can I make inventory management faster, better? How could I manage deliveries from vendors better? Do you have time periods that you're not allowing vendors to come in? So if you do a huge lunch business, you don't want a vendor showing up at 11:30 and trying to wheel a cart through your customers trying to get to the lunch. You got to shift that vendor someplace. How do you streamline your paperwork? How do you streamline all of that, your accounting and what have you? So the more things that you can streamline, the more things that you can time shift, it removes a lot of sales governors out of your way. So when that bus does show up, you got an opportunity to capitalize on the sales. Making your marketing more powerful. And marketing can be, doing external marketing. It could be just simply putting a sign in the window. You want to make sure that if someone walks up to the store and they see 2 hot dogs and a Coke for $5, and then they walk in the door and you don't even have hot dogs on the roller grill, that's a problem, because now you've just spent time making that sign and having that customer expectation, thinking I'm going to get 2 hot dogs and a Coke for $5. And now they walk in and they're woefully disappointed because you don't even have hot dogs on the grill. You don't even have a grill. I don't even know. So you just want to make sure that if you're going to market it, you want to make sure that it is on target and it's on plan, that people can come in and what you are advertising or what you got them in the door for, you can deliver on. So you have to communicate and you have to train your employees, from the POP, the employee training, having a monthly marketing plan. I remember walking into a Best Buy once trying to buy, I forget what I was trying to buy. And I asked the sales clerk, I said, "Hey, can you help me? I'm trying to get a Bluetooth speaker here or something along those lines." He goes, "Well, they're over here. Let's go read the box and you can find it." And I said, "Well, hell, dude, I could have read the box. I'm actually hoping that you can give me the cliff notes. Can you tell me which one I should buy, or do I have to come over here and read all the boxes with you?" I mean, to me, that's not an employee who's helping a customer. You could have a robot there and he could just point to the boxes. So making sure that you have the correct POP. I was in a convenience store in Chicago. It was in April, and they still had a fall promotion with the Bears hanging from the ceiling. I mean, it was 4 months after the fact. So you want to make sure that your customers aren't looking at something that's so obsolete it doesn't even make sense. So every month you're checking for the right POP, you're training your employees so they know what's on special. Anything that's on the front of that building that's in a sign, they should know everything about that. You want to make sure that your customers are very well informed by your employees. You may actually want to think about, from internal marketing, maybe doing a monthly marketing customer contest. Who can sell the most cookies, who can sell the most, combos or whatever it is. Get your employees involved with doing that. Delivering better customer service. We talked about, hey, I know you, Sally. I know you're buying muffins, everything like that. Just make sure that if you see bottlenecks and you see that there's 8 people at the register and you have the ability to go up there and run a second register, just do that. You're empowered to do that. You shouldn't have to go find your manager saying, "Hey, can I open up the other register?" No one enjoys standing in line. No one does. It's called a convenience store for a reason. They want to get in and they want to get out. I don't care what anyone tells you, they're lying if they say, "Oh, I like hanging out in the convenience store. I like standing seventh in line." No one does. They just want to get in and get out. So make sure that you're covering off all of those pinch points for your customers. And you want to make sure that you're empowered enough to say, "You know what? I'm jumping on another register and I'm going to go and relieve this line." The other thing that you want to be thinking about is shopping in the eyes of a customer. So when you park your car and you walk in, take a look at the exterior and say, if I were a customer, is this what I'd like to see? Are all the lights working? Is there cigarette butts on the ground? Is there garbage everywhere? Blah, blah, blah. You walk on the inside. Is this what I'd like to see? Or am I just hit with a whole bunch of a cacophony of signage or what have you? The lighting, is it bright enough in here? Is the signage directing me to where it should be? Is it shoppable? Things like that. So again, here's another checklist that I use. I actually have one I think it's like 13 pages that goes into tremendous detail on a store, but it's a way for me to I get hired to do this for operators. They'll actually hire me to come in and shop their store, and then I give them a report card. And the report card generally is like, "Holy cow, I had no idea that my store graded out like this," because all too often owners and employees, they come in and all they're thinking about is their job. They're not thinking about their store in the eyes of their customer. And sometimes you got to step back and kind of go, "Would I shop here? All the Snickers bars are all crooked and everything like that. There's dust on them, but would I buy something here?" I mean, you got to ask yourself, if I were a customer, is this what I would like? From a sales standpoint, it never hurts to have people understand that you can connect the dots for customers. So if they're only buying coffee, have you even pointed out to them that we sell bakery and we sell muffins and we sell donuts and everything like that? And oh, by the way, we got a combo. Do you even have the muffins next to the coffee, or is that an extra walk that someone's got to take. Again, customers, they want to come in, they want to get out, and it's all about convenience. They're not thinking about your store like you think about your store. So you have to connect the dots for them. You have to make sure that they're aware that there's combos, that there's seasonal offerings that you have. Have you tried the new pumpkin spice coffee, in October? Um, have you bought the big, large bag of potato chips that we now have because the Super Bowl is next week? Things along those lines that you're suggestively selling. And maybe you do it from a seasonal standpoint, maybe you do it on a daily basis, but having a plan around that will help you grow the revenues. And so if you do make selling a program, what are those things? Are you engaging your customers through your employees on the merchandising of that? Do you have those seasonal packages in place? Do you have combo deals? Do you suggest that when someone buys a pack of cigarettes that they can get a lighter for 25 cents if they did that? Or that if you bought a drink and some chips and a sandwich, it's a combo price of $8.99, something along those lines. You may also think about getting your vendors involved in product sampling. So if a vendor has a new product that they want to get out there, it's kind of like, man, if you go to a Costco or something like that, they're always product sampling and they have people lined up to eat those samples. And the vendors are providing all that because they want you to go, wow, this tastes pretty good. I think I'm going to grab a $15 bag of shrimp out of the freezer because I just had some of that shrimp. So think about engaging your vendors to set up. You don't have to do a sampling like Costco does every day, but you could have one come in every week or once a month or even once a quarter, just to have them provide some opportunity to get some free product out to your customers. And then maybe the customers start to buy that product. Think about this too. You're combined to your 2,000, 3,000 square foot store, but you're really not combined to it. You can take your products further out. I remember when I was starting in marketing early on, I read an article that said 80% of all McDonald's customers come from 2 miles. So you got your entire customer base is probably 2 or 3 miles away from your store. And you should be thinking about, how do I get products out to them? Could I start something like limited delivery? Could I do mobile ordering? Could I do, pre-order and have them come in and carry it out? Could I set up a drive-through? Do I have the space in my parking lot for an actual stationary drive-through, or maybe even just a pickup tent? Do I have something like that? Make it, think about your specific store, and there may be one of these that you kind of go, you know what, that's untapped for me. I probably could set up something. There's a school right next to me. Maybe I could have a tent that the kids don't even have to go in the store. They could actually order on an app and actually pick up the stuff. Something along those lines. There's probably some area that you could exploit from a sales generation outside of the store. Think about also expanding perhaps some of your products. Now, if you're involved in food service, for instance, think about all of the business meetings that take place in that 2 mile radius around your store. I know because I used to be one of those guys that had business meetings, and we would have all these menus and we would order in for meetings that were going pretty lengthy. Um, so think about all the food that's being eaten at a business meeting and how many waters are being consumed at a business meeting, and how many bagels and how many donuts and how many sandwiches and perhaps pizzas that are being ordered in. And ask yourself, do I even have any of that business? You probably don't, because you probably don't have a full-fledged catering program. You probably haven't set up school programs where they're buying all their waters from you or they're buying muffins from you. This is what the quick service restaurants do. They go out and cultivate this business in the 2 mile radius. They cultivate businesses ordering pizzas from them or sandwiches from them. They put catering packages together for them. They put together school programs. So if you're familiar with Panera Bread, Panera has a great catering program. And what does Panera sell? They sell cookies, they sell waters, they sell coffee, they sell bagels, they sell, sandwiches, they sell maybe some salads. And what does the convenience store sell? We sell cookies, we sell waters, we sell coffee, we sell donuts, we sell bagels, we sell sandwiches, we sell exactly the same products. Success for Panera is they put together a catering program and they actually have boots on the ground going to businesses saying, hey, think about us when you're ordering. Think about us, school system, when you're ordering. There's nothing stopping the convenience store from doing that. So if you want to think about maybe going after some of that business, maybe you got some dead space in your store. You could actually convert part of that store for putting together catering packages if it's, in the back room or something like that, that you can go out there. It's nothing more than they've just marketed it better than the convenience store industry. And it just has baffled me for as long as I've been around this industry, the last 30 plus years. It's just baffled me that convenience stores don't go after this business when they sell the exact same products that a Panera does. Appreciating your patrons, understanding that, the customer is a privilege, it's not a right. So when they come in, man, just treat them like, thank you for coming in. Thank you for crossing the threshold and coming into my location. I'm going to treat you like a guest and I'm going to call you Sally and I'm going to know what your products are. You don't want to have your store be a kind of a cause for consternation for your customers. You want your customers to kind of go, you know what? This is great. It's on my way home. I can swing in, swing out. It's a 10-minute process. I get to say hi to the people that I see each and every day, and I'm on my way home. So you want to make, again, those customers, if they're appreciated, perhaps they become ambassadors of your store kind of going forward. And then if you have a way to track these customers, maybe you become more proactive with them. So if you have an app that you've got a loyalty program that you can do that. If you don't have an app, that's okay. Just put one of those stinking fish bowls out on the counter and give away a free something every week and have people throw in their business cards. And then you get their email addresses and then you can put together a little database. It doesn't have to be for 5,000 customers. Even if you're reaching 100 customers, and you send out one email, it takes you probably 10 minutes to put that email together. You send it out to 100 people. Maybe you get those people to come to your store one extra time a week. And that's pretty simple. That's pretty simple way of doing your marketing. And again, you don't have to do every customer. And if you're not technologically inclined as far as having an app, that old fishbowl seems to work. People want free stuff. And so if you just get their business cards in there, it would be great. The last area I just want to talk about is, providing balance to your staff, making sure that your staff feels like they're appreciated, making sure that the staff feels like, you know what, I can come to work, I can hang out with my work buddies, we perform. It's not like I'm pounding my head against the wall each day I come in here. I actually can have fun while I'm here. I can contribute to the success of a location. I'm feeling pretty good about it. When I go home, I got balance. I can work. I can go home to my family. I can hang out with my work friends and I can hang out with my personal friends. I feel pretty good about myself and I'm actually making my way into this business world. If I'm a frontliner, I feel like I got a little power because I can make decisions within the store to address customer concerns. I'm feeling good. I got balance in my life. And I'm telling you, as a guy that strives for balance in his life, I think this is probably the most important thing for mental health is for for employees to feel like, you know what, I'm contributing, but I still have time to be with my family and enjoy myself. So walking the walk to me, and all of you are owner operators, it starts with you walking the walk. It isn't about talk. It's about you saying, you know what, I'm going to make my store operationally excellent. And it's going to start with me. I'm going to be the one who's kind of leading the charge and I'm giving that 100%. So everyone else will hopefully follow. And I view operations as it's all about preparation first. And then all you have to do is execute. So if you can eliminate a lot of those broken pipes, if you can document exactly what you want to accomplish over the course of the day, the week, the month, if your store is buttoned up from top to bottom, and and you get your employees to kind of buy into that vision, that they know that, hey, this is easy. I don't even have to think about what I have to do today. It's all laid out for me and I can execute against this. You're going to make them feel amazing about their job. So consistency and execution, I'm telling you, if you can pull that off, if you've ever been to a Chick-fil-A, Chick-fil-A has this down. They are very on top of their game. It's very easy. Portillo's in Chicago is another one that has absolutely nailed it. And so when you have consistency and you have execution, it's hard for your competition to fight that. I mean, if someone walks into the competitor and it's in disarray and things are out of stock, and I'm telling you, they're gonna leave them and come to you because they know what you see is what you're gonna get, and it's very consistent. So focus like a laser on operational excellence, and you're gonna see, much like I saw at Little Caesars when I had that 53% increase. Didn't do anything fancy. It was just doing everything better in the store, and that was the reason why we had that success. Customers will recognize that and they'll come to your store. So once again, my name is John Matthews. I'm the president and CEO at GrayCat. If you're interested in learning more about GrayCat, and I do have an online courses on my website, you can go to my website at graycatenterprises.com. If you want to reach out to me, there is my contact information. So Linda, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, John. That was a fantastic presentation. Thank you for providing our Small Operator Academy members with such valuable advice on how to zero in on those details and operate with excellence. What you discussed today can certainly have a really profound impact on a business.